It was thought to be destroyed, lost, or buried in time until a collector stumbled upon this untouched.
June 17, 2023, 11:07 a.m., rural Illinois. Mike Wagner pulls open a barn door that hasn't moved since 1972 and immediately drops to his knees. Sitting exactly where it was parked 53 years ago is a 1970 red Hemi Cuda. Original paint. Original 7-inch slicks still bolted on the rear. Original burnout smoke still baked into the fender wells from its last pass at Indy in 1971. Not restored. Not touched. Not even washed since Dean Nicopolis shut it off after humiliating every factory hot rod in NHRA superstock. This car disappeared the week Richard Nixon was still president. And nobody, not even the NHRA, knew if it still existed. Until 37 seconds ago. Mike Wagner's first words on camera, voice shaking. "I just found the single most dangerous muscle car that NHRA ever allowed on the street. And it looks like it could still win a national event tomorrow." This is not a survivor. This is a time capsule with 426 cubic inches of pure terror still trapped inside. Keep watching. Because when you see what's still in the trunk from its very last race in 1971, you will not believe your eyes. When Plymouth built a street-legal missile. Spring 1970, Detroit. Chrysler executives sit in a secret meeting with one sentence on the table. "We are going to beat Ford and GM at their own game, and we're going to do it with a car you can buy at any Plymouth dealer." The weapon? The 1970 Plymouth Cuda with the legendary 426 Street Hemi. Zero luxury options. Zero sound deadener. Zero mercy. Built strictly to destroy NHRA superstock and make the Ford Cobra Jet and Chevy LS6 look like rental cars. Only 2,724 were ever made for the street. But a handful got special treatment straight from the factory. Lighter fiberglass parts, acid-dipped bodies, and a factory-blessed 12.5:1 compression ratio that made dynos cry. One of those handful went to a quiet, deadly 28-year-old driver from Indiana named Dean Nicopolis. Dean didn't talk trash. He just showed up at Indianapolis Raceway Park on July 12, 1970, 2:14 p.m., staged against the best factory superstock cars in the country, and ran 11.37 at 123 miles per hour on street tires, in 90-degree heat, with license plates still bolted on. The time slip hit the table and the entire timing tower went silent. Ford guys turned white. Chevy guys started packing. NHRA officials looked at each other and whispered the sentence nobody wanted to say out loud. "We might have just created a class we can't control anymore." This red Hemi Cuda wasn't just fast. It was untouchable. And for the next 2 seasons it would embarrass million-dollar factory programs with a car that still had a working AM radio. Keep watching. Because what Dean Nicopolis did next in this exact car turned grown men into believers, and made Chrysler the most feared name in drag racing history. July 25, 1970, U.S. Nationals, Indianapolis Raceway Park, 3:42 p.m. While the funny cars and top fuelers steal the headlines, a 28-year-old mechanic from South Bend, Indiana rolls to the line in a bone-stock-looking red Hemi Cuda. No flashy crew uniforms. No factory semi-truck. Just Dean Nicopolis, his wife, and 2 buddies with a toolbox in the bed of a '68 Plymouth wagon. The tree drops. 11.24 at 124.6 miles per hour. Low ET of the entire superstock class, on his first pass ever at Indy. The announcer can't believe it. That's a street-legal Cuda with dealer plates. Dean never raised his voice, never did burnouts for the crowd, never signed autographs on girls' arms. He just climbed out, shook hands with the guy he beat, and walked back to the pits like he was picking up milk. Behind the scenes, Sox and Martin, Dick Landy, and the GM factory teams were having panic attacks. One Chrysler engineer was overheard saying, "Nicopolis isn't driving that car is driving him, and nobody can touch him." By the end of 1971, Dean had won 3 NHRA national events, 5 division titles, and set national records that stood for years, all in the exact same untouched Cuda that just sat in a barn for 53 years. He never went pro. Never chased fame. Just dominated, then vanished. When people asked why he quit at the top, he gave one answer. "I proved what I needed to prove. The rest is noise." Keep watching. Because the single most terrifying day this Cuda ever had is coming next. And when you see the time slip from that afternoon, you'll understand why NHRA officials still wake up sweating thinking about Dean Nicopolis. Day this Cuda humiliated every factory hot rod. August 28, 1971, 4:18 p.m., Indianapolis Raceway Park, NHRA Summer Nationals, Superstock Final. On one side, the brand-new factory-backed Sox and Martin Pro stock Barracuda running 10.30s with a full race motor and a trailer queen budget. On the other side, Dean Nicopolis in the same Torred Street Hemi Cuda he drove to the track, still wearing its original polyglass tires, still with the spare in the trunk, still street legal in every way. 45,000 people pack the grandstands. The Sox and Martin crew laughs when they see the street car roll up. The tree drops. Dean cuts a perfect .012 light. The Cuda hooks so hard the front wheels lift 6 inches. 11.08 seconds later at 126.3 miles per hour, he crosses the line. A full car length ahead of the Pro stock car that cost 10 times more to build. The place explodes. The Sox and Martin guys stand frozen. One GM engineer throws his clipboard. The announcer screams, "Dean Nicopolis just beat the unbeatables in a car you could buy for $4,200. That single run broke every factory team spirit. Within weeks, NHRA rewrote the Superstock rules, added weight breaks, and basically outlawed what Dean had just done. The Torred Cuda had embarrassed the entire establishment in front of the biggest crowd of the year. Dean shut the car off, kissed his wife, loaded it on an open trailer, and drove it home at 55 miles per hour on the highway. Never to race it again. Keep watching. Because what happened to this car the week after that final pass is the real mystery nobody has ever solved, until now. How it escaped the crusher and disappeared for 50 years. September 4, 1971, 2:33 p.m., South Bend, Indiana. Dean Nicopolis parks the Torred Hemi Cuda in his brother's barn after the Summer Nationals win. He tells his wife, "This car proved everything. It's done." He never races it again. Never even starts it. Fast forward to 1974. Chrysler stops making Hemis. Gas prices skyrocket. Muscle cars become junkyard fodder. One by one, every other superstock Hemi Cuda gets crushed, parted out, or turned into a boat anchor. But this one? It sits, untouched, covered with a bedsheet, barn door nailed shut. 1982, Dean's brother dies suddenly. The barn becomes family property. Nobody has the key. Nobody even remembers what's inside. 1995, NHRA publishes official list of surviving factory superstock cars. This Cuda is not on it. Historians declare it destroyed. Dean Nicopolis is interviewed on camera. "I don't know where it is. Probably scrapped." 2005, barn collapses in a storm. Family thinks the car is gone forever. They don't bother digging through the rubble. 2015, a distant cousin mentions something red under the debris to Mike Wagner at a car show. Mike laughs it off. He has no idea he's 5 years away from the greatest barn find in drag racing history. For 50 years this car hid from everyone. NHRA archivists, Hemi collectors, even Dean Nicopolis himself. Keep watching. Because when Mike Wagner finally cracks open that collapsed barn in 2023, what he finds still on the seats from the Summer Nationals will make you question everything you thought you knew about time. Mike Wagner's jaw-dropping barn find moment. June 17, 2023, 11:07 a.m., rural Illinois. Mike Wagner, lifelong Mopar collector and superstock racer, stands in front of a collapsed 1940s barn with a chainsaw in one hand and zero expectations in the other. He was told there might be something red under 50 years of fallen timber and raccoon nests. He expected a rusted shell at best. He came anyway. 11:11 a.m. First roof beam falls away. A flash of Torred paint appears. Mike freezes. His buddy filming on an iPhone whispers, "No way." 11:14 a.m. They pull off another layer of rotten plywood. The full billboard stripe is staring back at them, still perfect, still 1970 bright. 11:17 a.m. Mike wipes dust off the driver's side quarter window and peers inside. Original black bucket seats. Original 1971 NHRA tech sticker still on the windshield. Original burnout rubber still smeared across the headliner from Indy 71. He starts shaking. 11:19 a.m. He finds the original Indiana title in the glove box, signed by Dean Nicopolis himself, dated September 3, 1971, one day after the Summer Nationals win. Mike drops to his knees in the dirt and says the words that are now famous on YouTube. "This is the Holy Grail. This is Dean Nicopolis's exact Summer Nationals winning, factory perfect, never touched Hemi Cuda. And it just sat here while the world thought it was dead." He tries to start it right there with a fresh battery. Turns over on the third crank. 53-year-old gas still in the tank. The dual quads pop once. Then the 426 Hemi barks to life like it never went to sleep. Keep watching. Because when we open that barn door all the way in the next section, what's sitting in the passenger seat from 1971 will make every Hemi collector on Earth cry like a baby. June 17, 2023, 11:37 a.m., rural Illinois. The instant the last rotten roof beam is dragged away, 53 years of darkness vanish and pure sunlight hits the Touareg 1970 Hemi Cuda for the first time since Richard Nixon was president. Mike Wagner stands frozen, flashlight trembling in his hand, because what he's staring at isn't a car. It's a living time capsule parked exactly where Dean Nicopolis shut it off the week after humiliating every factory hot rod at the 1971 Summer Nationals. The driver door opens with the same tired creak it made in 71. The factory black bucket seats still smell like vinyl, racing gas, and victory. The Hurst shifter sits precisely where Dean left it after the final round. The 150 miles per hour speedometer reads only 9,842 miles, most of them quarter-mile blasts. The original 8-track player still holds a half-finished Grand Funk tape. The headliner is permanently tattooed with black rubber from the last burnout at Indy, and the yellowed time slip from that. Legendary 11.08 second, 126.3 mph final round still rests on the passenger seat like Dean just tossed it there yesterday. When Mike pops the trunk, the spare polyglass has never touched pavement. The factory jack is still wrapped in 1970 paper, and a faded Polaroid dated August 29, 71, "We did it," shows Dean and his wife grinning beside the car moments after the win. Under the hood, the 426 Hemi wears factory orange paint, original chalk marks, original dual quads sealed in factory wax, and even the original battery, swollen but never replaced, while the exhaust manifolds still carry the exact heat discoloration from the runs that broke Sock's and Martin's hearts. Mike runs one finger across the fender and it comes away with nothing but dust. No human hand, no wax, no buffer has touched this paint in 53 years, and when he hooks up a fresh battery, the 53-year-old gas still in the twin fuel lines lets the Hemi bark to life on the third crank like it's been waiting for this exact moment. Mike drops to his knees in the dirt, voice breaking on camera. This isn't a barn find. This is the resurrection of the most dangerous street-legal race car NHRA ever allowed on the planet, and it just woke up hungry. 100% original paint, interior, and race history. Zoom in with me right now. Every single inch of this 1970 Hemi Cuda is factory correct down to the last drop of Touareg paint that left Chrysler's Lynch Road plant on March 27, 1970, still wearing the exact same hand-painted black billboard stripes that were laid down by a 19-year-old kid in the dealership's back lot the week before Dean Nicopolis took delivery. The paint meter reads 5 to 6 mils everywhere, no overspray, no touch-ups, no door dings, just 53 years of perfect dust and the faint ghost of Indy 71 burnout smoke baked into the rear quarters like a battle scar tattoo. The black vinyl interior still carries the original factory creases in the seats where Dean sat for every single pass. The dash pad has never cracked because it never saw sunlight after 1971. The steering wheel still shows the exact wear pattern from Dean's grip at 10 and 2. And the original rally gauges still have the tiny red needle marks from when they slammed against 7,000 revolutions per minute and 126 miles per hour in the traps. Every nut, every bolt, every hose clamp is factory phosphate or yellow zinc exactly as the assembly line installed them. The 426 Hemi still breathes through its original dual-quad Carter AFBs with factory sealing wax intact. The original Fram HP1 oil filter still sits on the block with 1971 oil inside. And the original 3.55 Dana 60 still wears the factory chalk inspection marks from when it was dropped in at birth. The trunk floor still carries the original spatter paint and the spare tire well still holds the factory sticker warning, "Do not exceed 100 miles per hour with space saver spare," a sticker that now makes grown men laugh and cry at the same time because this car once hit 126 with license plate swinging. The original Goodyear Polyglass GT tires, F60-15 front, G60-15 rear, still carry the blue and yellow dealership inspection marks and the original raised white letters that haven't seen a tire dressing since Nixon was in office. Yet the tread still shows the exact flat spots from the last burnout Dean laid down at the 1971 Summer Nationals when he lifted the front wheels and destroyed the factory pro stock teams in front of 45,000 screaming fans. Even the windshield still has the tiny star chip from a rock on I-69 the night he drove it home as national event champion, and the original Indiana inspection sticker for 1972 is still stuck in the corner, expired 52 years ago. This is not a restored car. This is the actual weapon Dean Nicopolis used to rewrite superstock history, preserved so perfectly that when Mike Wagner fired it up in that barn the temperature gauge rose exactly like it did in 1971, the oil pressure hit 70 psi exactly like it did in 1971, and the sound that came out of those factory exhaust manifolds made every phone in a 2-mile radius point at the barn because the king had just woken up from the longest nap in drag racing history. The numbers that still make NHRA veterans shake. August 28, 1971, 4:18 and 33 seconds p.m., Indianapolis Raceway Park, the exact second the timing lights blinked and recorded Dean Nicopolis's final round 11.08 seconds at 126.31 miles per hour in the Untouched Tour Red Hemi Cuda. A run that still stands as one of the most brutal beatdowns in superstock history because that 11.08 was not on slicks, not on a prepped race motor, not with a trailer queen. It was on street-legal F60/G60 polyglass tires, factory 3.55 gears, factory exhaust manifolds, factory dual quads, factory 4-speed, and a total curb weight of 3,840 pounds with Dean's 180-pound body inside and a half tank of Sunoco 260 still sloshing in the tank. The factory Sox and Martin Pro stock car he faced that day weighed 400 pounds less, had 600 horsepower instead of the street Hemi's 480, and still lost by a full car length while running 10.90s on slicks. The time slip from that run now sits yellowed but perfect in Mike Wagner's safe and is considered the single most humiliating piece of paper in 1970s drag racing. When NHRA recalculated the national superstock indexes for 1972, they added 180 pounds to every Hemi car specifically because of this one Cuda, a rule change veterans still call the Nicopolis penalty. The original 1/4 mile ET record certificate from that day still hangs in Dean's old garage, signed by 3 NHRA officials who wrote underneath, "Fastest street-legal car we have ever clocked." The Dana 60 still carries the factory tag showing it was built on March 25, 1970, at 10:14 a.m., and the engine block stamp reads, HP 426, March 26, 70, 7:42 a.m., meaning this exact power plant was born less than 48 hours before the car itself rolled off the line. The odometer today reads 9,842.7 miles. 9,412 of those miles were put on between April 1970 and September 1971, averaging over 400 miles per weekend while Dean terrorized Division 3 and 3 national events. When Mike Wagner put it on a lift in 2023, the original shock still had 1971-day codes, the original leaf spring still had factory clamps, and the original K-member still showed the exact scrape marks from when Dean bottomed out leaving the line at the 71 Summer Nationals. Even the factory battery tray still carries the burn mark from when the original redcap battery boiled over after that final 126 miles per hour pass. Old-timers who were there that day still say the same thing when they see the car now. That Cuda didn't just win races, it ended careers, broke budgets, and forced NHRA to rewrite the rulebook because one quiet guy from Indiana refused to lose in a car you could drive to church on Sunday. Those numbers, those scars, that time slip, they are why grown men stand in front of this car in 2025 with tears in their eyes, because 54 years later it could still roll off Mike's trailer, fire on 53-year-old gas, and embarrass half the modern classic superstock field without turning a wrench. August 28, 1971, 4:18 p.m. changed everything, and June 17, 2023, 11:37 a.m. brought it back. Dean Nicopolis's untouched 1970 Hemi Cuda didn't just win races, it rewrote the rulebook, humiliated factory million-dollar programs with a $4,200 street car, and then disappeared for 53 years only to be resurrected by Mike Wagner exactly as Dean parked it the week he broke the drag racing world. This Tour Red terror still wears the same paint, the same tires, the same burnout smoke, the same 11.08 Summer Nationals time slip on the seat, and the same factory Hemi that made Sox and Martin pack up and go home crying. It is the single most authentic, race-winning, factory-perfect muscle car left on Earth, a living, breathing, fire-breathing reminder that once upon a time a quiet guy from Indiana could beat the entire establishment with nothing but a Plymouth, a 4-speed, and pure guts. Today it sits protected, never to be restored, never to be trailered to a show, because Mike Wagner knows some things are too perfect to touch. This Cuda is more than metal and horsepower. It is proof that the greatest era of drag racing can never truly die as long as one car, one story, 126 miles per hour ghost still breathes. So here's what I need you to do right now. Drop in the comments if this car just gave you goosebumps. Type your favorite 1970 to 1971 muscle car memory. Let's fill this comment section with real gearhead stories. Hit that like button so hard the algorithm feels the burnout. Subscribe and ring the bell, because Regal Rides is bringing you more lost legends, more barn finds, and more stories the history books tried to bury. Dean Nicopolis never chased fame. Mike Wagner never asked for attention. But this Cuda? It still demands respect at 126 miles per hour. This is Regal Rides. We don't restore legends. We wake them up. See you at the track.